Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Your Kids podcast. Today we have with us Jennifer. Jennifer, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Duckworth. I am the co-founder of Black Homeschoolers of Birmingham, and then I'm also the founder and CEO of Neighbor Foundations, and it's a learning center here in Birmingham.
Nice. Okay, okay. And I'm excited because although this will publish after your event, of course, Black Homeschool of Birmingham conference is this weekend
It
coming
is.
up. Yes. How exciting. How long have you all been doing that?
Oh, wow. Well, this is our fourth annual conference. So we've been doing it for a little while. But we are so excited because of all of the speakers that are coming and all of the families that have signed up to come to learn. And we've got an amazing kid zone. So my kids, I have three, they're like, we can't wait to the summit. And that's good, especially since their mother put it together. So you don't usually hear that. They're like,
Yeah.
so we're excited. Yesterday, if you would have seen me, you would have been like, "Oh my gosh, she okay?" But today, I'm fresh.
I know because I didn't know if you were gonna make it or not. Like I know they have a lot going on this week, so I'm glad that you were able to make time. So,
Yeah.
how did Black Homeschoolers of Birmingham begin?
Well, it was so organic. Like my family and I, we started homeschooling back when my son was in kindergarten. So we weren't like COVID homeschoolers or anything like that. We actually chose to homeschool. And so we plugged into all of the normal things, co-ops, tutoring collectives, all of those things. And we found ourselves being the only one. And I'm
Hmm.
okay with that because I went to a
Even
private
in Birmingham? Look, even in Birmingham.
school. Let's okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, because this is what it is. The everyone that looks like us, that are black and brown, we're all spread out, right? And there
Okay.
was not any one space for us to come in together and really see each other. It was like, you know how it is. If you go to the
Mhm.
library and you see somebody that looks like you're like, "Hey girl, how you doing?" And that'll probably be the last time that you see them you know? And if you
Right.
see him again, you're excited, but, in the spaces that I was in, I was the only one, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
they were kind and they were loving, and some of them we're still friends with, the families, but it
Nice.
still wasn't meeting our personal journeys needs, you know? And so I just started asking around, like, who wants to go to a mom's night out or something like that on it's the Black Homeschoolers of Alabama Facebook site. And
Okay.
Yolanda was doing the same thing, my co-founder, Yolanda Chandler.
Hmm.
And,
Yeah,
I feel like God just puts people on path with each other.
of
We were both
course.
looking for a community to support our family's decision to homeschool. And, one thing led to another. It started off with a park day that we were meeting together, skating rink, meeting up at a library. And then, we created like a little Facebook messenger group. And all of a sudden, it was a lot of moms we were meeting. We're like, hey, join us here. And then even during the day, we would be talking to each other through that group. And then Yolanda and I looked at each other as like, we've got to move out of this messenger group and move to a Facebook group. And then we moved from there, and now we have our own website, and we have now over 500 families that are subscribed to our community. Not everybody participates
Nice.
all the time, but they
No,
know
that's
what's going
fine.
on.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
amazing. So it
Yeah.
just started with y'all saying, "Hey, let's get together. Let's get
Yes.
together. Let's get together." And then it was
Yes.
like, "Okay, we keep
Mhm.
getting together. Let's go ahead
Yes.
and make this a little more formal."
Yes, yes, and
Yes.
honestly, like, what happened was when COVID hit, it wasn't as easy to get together, and so
Mm,
I talked to my husband because my husband is an entrepreneur and he understands just business management and things of that nature, and he was just like, "You need to get organized. You need to make a call to the families and see if they can help you. They want this, then they need to help you." And so I did. I just started calling the core families and I was like, look, we want to create this community that we all need. Can you help me? And we did. And we started putting things together where we invited local businesses to come along and provide enrichment classes for our community, especially if you are a family that offers classes. We had one family that did music, so we all went to them and they taught our kids music. We started having play dates once a month. We had a field trip coordinator who was a parent who was like, okay, I'll find all the field trips. And we just started doing that. We became more organized, which led to us becoming a nonprofit organization. So it's just way more than we ever imagined.
Nice. I'm so happy that y'all were able to build a community. You just pretty much gave everybody a blueprint. Hey guys, this is what you need to do. If
That's
you don't see
right.
what you need, then go ahead and create it. And this is how
Yes.
simple it is to create it. Lovely. What led you to want to homeschool?
Well, I'm probably not any different than the average homeschooler, but I think for us, we noticed that all of the work that we put into our children might not stay there, especially
Mm,
since I have 3. We have 3. My husband and I have been married for 15 years, and we have 3 children, 13-year-old boy, Xander, 10-year-old girl, Carly, and 8-year-old girl, Phoenix. And we knew that the way that the school system had typically treated a young Black male child with
mm,
confidence was not exactly the most positive way. And we just worked too hard to instill good values into him. And we wanted to keep that.
yeah.
I could tell you, we're going to have another podcast. I could tell you the stories of how, God just really continued to show us that this was not our path. We
Yeah.
have no hate for them. It just wasn't the path that we need to take for our family. And we just kept moving forward one year at a time. And homeschool has been really good for us so
Right.
far.
Yes, of course. And yeah, that's what people have to understand. Just because we choose to homeschool doesn't mean that it's necessarily anything against public school in per se.
Mhm.
I do speak from a different level because I was a teacher in the classroom. So I do
Oh,
speak on the workings of public school. However, a lot of homeschool families chose it just because of their values and morals, and they want their ethics to, be flourished in their child, and they don't want to lose that. And a
mhm.
lot of some people have said, I just wanted that time with my child. Like,
Yeah,
it's just I
yeah,
just wanted to make sure I kept that time that was valuable to me. Like I
yeah.
wasn't ready to send them off. And then one year turned into this and one year turned into that. So
Mhm.
but forever, whatever reason, whatever your reason is, as long as you're listening, because like you
Yes.
said, you knew because
Mhm.
everything was lining up for you. So you was like, hey, let me keep it moving. Let us keep
Yeah.
going one year
Yeah.
at a time. So how has the flow been? How was the start? Let's talk about the start.
The start was okay. I wish I could show pictures because
Oh,
my son was crying, I was crying, I was just a basket case because, you know, I love the opportunity. I'm the type of person that's like, okay, let's lay it all out. What do I gotta do? Let's do it. If I gotta be over here, I'm gonna be over here. If I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. I did that. But at the same time, like, I really wish I woulda had a community like I have now because
mm,
I was so lost. I was trying and I know you've probably had many people come on here and say, "I was really trying to create the system that I grew up in my home," and
yes,
I just
ma'am.
couldn't do it, and also, I realized, like, 3 years into it, that just because Susie Jane does this for her child, it doesn't mean that it's right for my child and even me. I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned. I too am important in this
Mhm.
equation
Yes,
because
ma'am.
I'm the teacher, right? So if I don't like the curriculum, I'm not going to teach it right. And then I'm not going to have that love that the kids can attach to, you know? And so that was why I was crying because somebody had said, do this like super literature based curriculum. Well, that's not me. I'm
Mm,
all about the pictures and, I'm about like, hey, let's get into it. I'm very kinesthetic, and that I mean, my son was like 6 years old. Do we have to do this?
But yes,
Like,
Susie J said
right.
we need to. Like, we gotta do it.
There was nobody like you saying, "Girl, please, we're not, you don't have nobody." So eventually though, we learned our groove. Like I
Yeah.
said, 3 years into it, I'm a slow poke. I admit it. 3 years into it, I was like, "Okay, I could choose my curriculum. I'm gonna start around August." And then my daughter started folding in, and I realized, "Oh, I have 3 different people that I have to think about." And that was a whole new journey because I'm like, "It's me and my husband. Where's all the money coming from?" You know? We have a wonderful village, don't get me wrong. My mother and father and my mother-in-law, of course, they were not with us as far as mentally for this
Yes.
process, at first, but my husband and I are both the only children, so we're just stubborn enough.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes.
We're both stubborn enough to keep moving forward, whether or not anybody, agrees with us. And they finally were like, okay, they're going to do whatever they want. We're in it. We'll support you. So that's been a blessing, but it's still a lot,
Yeah.
especially with siblings. And so I just had to learn that journey of, okay, you need this, you need this, you need this. And it's okay if it's different. We'll figure it out, and that's been a process. And now we're at a position where they're older, 13, 10, and 8, like I said before. And the biggest thing is they all have their own journey. Like
Yeah.
my son is into theater, inventions like visual arts. He just built his own 3D printer, so he's making his own
What?
toys. Yeah, like he's
Making
all
his own toys.
yes, he's all the visual arts, right?
Oh my goodness.
My daughter, oh, and he plays lacrosse, and then my daughter, she is, like I said, swimming and a volleyball, and she loves to cook, so she created her own moms and daughters cooking club. So we got that. And then my youngest daughter she is our jumping bean and she loves to dance, so we're in that. So it's just all their lives, and we're just trying to make sure we stay on their path as best we
Yeah.
can within reason, you
And
know?
yeah, of course. And like you're speaking on the level of having three totally different children. How
Mhm.
did you find that groove to match all three? Like how,
Oh,
as far as scheduling goes, or as far as just sitting down together, like how does that look for you guys?
well, my husband, like I said, he is executive director of a economic development nonprofit organization, and he definitely has more experience in business organization. And why do I bring that up? Because this is a educational business. Even if you don't have an LLC, your home is a business when you're doing the education. So he and I sit down and we have this huge whiteboard in our home and we map it out. Like even today, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got to be here, be here, be here." He was like, "No, look, look what we can." And we've just learned along the way, right? We get it all what they mean, curriculum. That was something I love telling this story. I wanted to have a science curriculum that still incorporated God, right? And so I just went on YouTube and I said, hey, what's a science curriculum that still incorporates God? And I found it, and that has been part of our system. And we don't always do science every day, you know? We do it when we can, honestly.
Yes.
That was another thing. I read a book. Somebody gave me a book. It's called Homeschooling at Rest. It's by Sarah Mackenzie. And that was when I was freaking out about the schedule thing because I was trying to do everything every day, like math,
Mm.
reading, writing,
So
social studies.
you were like 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. type deal.
That's what I was trying
Oh
to do.
my.
And it was running me ragged because
I'm
I was like,
sure.
it's just me. Like, how, but I realized that you're from the school system, that's 50 people. a day for those children. It's not
Hmm.
one person a day.
Yes.
And I read that book, and it was talking about how you have the rolling schedule where it's like you do your core every day, which is really math, reading, and writing, but then you sprinkle in your schedule along the way. Like if you want to put history on Monday and then science on Tuesday, your extracurricular like debate on Friday, you could do it like that, and that saved me. That really did, because that allowed me to put the different kids' schedule on the different day. So if Carla wants to do cooking, that's on Wednesdays. If Xander wants to do his, building stuff, he could do it on his own time. But if he needs that focus time, he can have that on Tuesday. It doesn't always have to be on me, you know.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
mhm.
I mean, go back to Xander though, because think about if he was in the classroom. Like, think about what he would not be doing. Like you just said, this young man built his own 3D printer and
Yeah.
is now printing his own toys.
Yeah.
Like, I just needed to, in case they didn't catch it the first time, I need them to hear that, okay? Because
Yeah.
that wouldn't have taken place in the classroom. Not
No, I know.
because they wouldn't want it to, just because
Mhm.
there wouldn't be time to. There would be
Right.
a bunch of other things that filled his schedule. And
Yeah.
so I'm just in awe that he was able to find,
Right.
y'all were able to figure out his passion and
Mhm.
then just let him go for it. And now look at it. Like he's an inventor
He
at
is.
13. Like
Yes.
he's an inventor. Go ahead.
Yes.
Go
Well,
ahead.
no, I mean, you're feeding into it because you said it earlier. You were saying listen,
Yeah.
right? And that's what I always try to tell the families that I consult. Like, you really have to, when you're first starting out, like you need to take about 18 weeks to really
Yes.
just watch your children, to really
And
get in the
listen,
habit of
yes.
listening to them. Because and we have a really good village. I will say, like, our church is a really prominent in our life because Xander has always been drawing, since
Mm.
he was little. But then he got access to like pipe cleaners. And, I'm just like, whatever. But then he was making these pipe cleaner little toys. And then he was taking boxes around the house, cutting them up, making them into swords. And one of our church members was like, "What you doing?" And he was like, "Building my toys." And he had always told us he wanted to do that, but we're just moving forward the way we know. But our church member was like, "I'm gonna get you a 3D printer." And this was
Mm.
not like one of the expensive ones. This was just a gift, like if you go to the Amazon and buy something, that's what it was.
Yes.
And we were grateful for it. But he invested into our son, and that lit up a whole new life. And then our relationships in the community, like, the businesses that we work with, like, they see that and they're like, "Hey, we want to invite Xander to a coding class," right?
Mm.
Like, this would not have happened in the traditional sense, only because there is no time to specifically get to every child. Like,
Yes.
you need a system like homeschool, or you need a system like very small charter or private school, but
Micro.
a micro school, you
Hmm.
need that in order to see the child enough to invest in them. Now, I will say, my mother and my mother-in-law, they were the old school teachers. And I heard so much about them helping each child that they could. And my mom would always say, school starts at home. So I feel like that has always been the foundation, but people have forgotten about that. And so I think when you choose to homeschool or be a part of micro school or anything like that, you're bringing that back because you can
Really.
actually see each child for who they are. And, we've been blessed to be able to allow him to go this far, you know. And
Yes.
I think that's what it is.
Yes. What kind of curriculum are you using?
Okay, so we are eclectic, and I will say this is something that I learned from one of our first conferences that we did. Because my husband and I are business owners, like I don't just sit at home. Like I have my neighbor foundations where I tutor K through 5, then I have a kids debate club, and I do the homeschool. So I'm making income from an entrepreneurial perspective, and I'm coming to a point that this is part of the curriculum question. And my husband, like I said, he's a business owner as well. So that's part of our curriculum. The reason that Xander was able to go and build his 3D printer is because we have business partner friends that
Mm,
allowed him to come to his office and work there as part of his curriculum. So we're
nice.
very involved as far as in the community. That's part of our curriculum. So, with Carly and her cooking club, she sometimes goes to the local farm and learns about herbs and stuff like that we have here. So that's part of our curriculum. Eclectic like paper stuff, we're using the good and the beautiful because
Mm,
for me, since I am on the go and I am working entrepreneur, I choose to have a lot of workbook style learning in my house. So good and the beautiful is good for us. It's Christians based, so that's our foundation. There are secular stuff out there, so don't want to be pigeonholed into one
of
way.
course.
And then, like I said, I'm YouTubing all types of different curriculum that we could use on our busy schedule. Pinterest is my best friend. If I'm looking for some additional facts and stuff like that, I go there. We have a Bible curriculum that we use that is just basically I bought a Bible for the kids and they honestly had like activity sheets that we could download. I was like,
Oh,
hey,
nice.
we found our curriculum today, and that was free, as
Yes.
long as I have ink in my printer, we're good to go,
Yeah.
and we use our library a lot as far as curriculum. Like the kids this summer, they did a game design class that was provided by the library for free. And they taught them how to create a real game that they could play. So I've learned along the lines how to really utilize the resources around us. And that's why when COVID came, I was devastated because I was
And
like,
y'all was in the house. Y'all were
we were
actually in the
in the
house.
house. Yes. I was like, what are we going to do? And that's how my kids debate club came about because I
Oh, nice.
started like reaching out to our family and friends. It was like, well, if we can't see each other in person, why not just, do something productive? So yeah, that's our curriculum. We just kind of
Yeah.
my foundation is still listen to the child and then try to find those resources. Don't try to recreate the wheel. And just apply them to our home.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And eclectic, pulling from everything. So you're just really trying to meet the needs of your child. Like,
Yes,
hey,
ma'am.
okay, I think y'all will like this. I think you'll like this.
Mhm,
Let us
mhm.
try this out.
Yeah.
Right. So neighbor foundations.
Mhm.
Tell us, where did that come about?
It
But
is.
I know half COVID.
Well, that was actually another organic story where I was homeschooling my kids, struggling, living our lives, but figuring it out. And my neighbor, who's actually from Peru, said, "Hey, can you like help me? Our daughter is struggling in kindergarten and we need help." And I was like, "Kindergarten? Like that's everybody's loves kindergarten, but the way you used to be a teacher, these people have them set up like they should be reading and writing and knowing how to, write the
They're
preamble
testing
of
them there. Yeah. It's like it's really kindergarten.
it.
Oh,
These parents are like calling me like they just took the ACAP, and I was like, in kindergarten?
kindergarten. I didn't learn. I just learned that not too long ago. I thought testing started in third grade, but I recently learned that. Oh yeah, no, girl, they're hitting preschool now. Like I was like, what? The baby?
Yes.
Don't let
I
them
was
do that to the baby.
No, I was like, "They're traumatized already," and so I was like, "Sure, I can help," and
Aw.
so it just started, 3 days, 1 day here, and she went from and she was bilingual, so I think that had a lot to do with it, but, going from almost not passing to the most improved student,
Aw.
I was like, "Well, all I'm doing is doing what I do for my kids, right? I'm just being a good neighbor and I'm going to offer the foundations that, are probably missing. I want to be that connector." So that happened. And I just kept telling people about it, you know, and now I have 4 teachers that are contractors for my organization with the
So
tutoring.
beautiful.
And,
Yes.
this summer I had over 10 students, and during the school year, I usually have 15 to 20 students that I tutor around the whole community. And so it's just kind of grown. And of course, the debate club, that was something, like I said, that grew out of, my kids being bored. They and really unseen. Like, my son is super, super, super people oriented. So the fact that he could not see his friends was literally he was dying on the inside because that's part of who he is. And I was like, okay, I had seen this podcast that was talking about, debating fun things. And so I said, let's do that. Let's see how we can debate fun things, ice cream versus cookies, pizza versus tacos, and we did it. We started out with our local homeschool group, and then we started expanding to everybody, all people. And right now I have over 15 families that participate. It's a 6-month program, and I have families from North Carolina, Arizona, because it still remained a virtual program.
Okay.
And now I have real debate coaches that come in to help the students. And I have real people, like I'm probably going to ask you to come in and judge the debate at the end of each month so the kids can actually showcase what they've been working on throughout the
Nice.
whole school, month or whatnot. So it's kind of become like an out school type
Nice.
situation, and then, of course, homeschool consultation. I'm just trying to help my fellow brother and sister out there that were like me, and, COVID really spurred that on because I think people were like, shocked, sticker shock,
Mhm.
like, "Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do?" So, Neighbor Foundations it's really is my heart because I'm really trying to help my neighbor as best I can with the things that God has blessed me to be able to do.
And I love that. I love the name. The fact that you're daunting on the neighbor, because there's so much done for us to be divided. That people have to constantly be reminded, like, yo, we need each other. Don't believe the hype. We need each other.
Yes,
Okay. And so
yes,
I love that you keep on re-emphasizing that your village is amazing, your community, just everything that y'all have created for community.
mhm.
That is so important.
It is. I honestly didn't appreciate it until, like, 2 years ago, where, like, my daughter needed to be on one side of town for volleyball, and my son needed to be on the other side of town, and it's me and Jeremy's, like, working, and I'm working, and I had to call upon my friends. I had to call Yolanda, I had to call another friend, and I had to be like, "Hey, are you going on this side of town? Like, can I drop my kids off with you, and can you take them?" Like, that is not the system that I grew up in. Like,
Right? It's like
my
figure it out
right, like, my
by
parents are
yourself.
yes, yes, my parents are baby boomers, and so, like,
Really.
they're from that generation where it's like, "We don't talk about our business. We suffer
Mhm.
alone," like, we can do it, and you can because they came from that place where they had to, so there's no
Mhm.
disrespect there, but now it's like, I can't do this alone and expect to be sane. That's and my husband has to remind me because I still have that only child syndrome where I will
Mhm.
shut it down real quick. But at the same time, my husband's like, who do we call? Who can we call on in this moment?
Yes.
That was huge for me. I did not realize how important everyone in our village was until I was like, I can't do it by myself.
Yes, I love that. And let's get on the boomers for a minute because we love them. Okay,
Yes,
we love them. But this is something new for a lot of them. Although there were homeschoolers then also, but
yes.
just not, of course, not at this level. But how did you get? Because I've talked to a few lovely homeschoolers, new homeschoolers, and things of that nature, and they're like, no, my mom's not with it. Like, my
Yeah.
mom is like, no, my mom's not supportive, or like, or
Mhm.
the kids come around, they want to quiz kids. Oh,
Yes.
what are you learning? Are you learning? Like, so please speak on that for a minute.
Well, you kinda triggered me a little moment because that has happened to me several
Yes.
times. I mean, like, I love my parents and my mother-in-law, but they will and you know what? It's a different generation that I've come to appreciate. Like, here we are standing on their shoulders because we definitely are not seeing anybody in white coats and white hoods, you know, threatening our lives. They
Speak on
went
it.
through that.
Yes, ma'am.
We're not marching and having our kids leave the house to go sit in jail cells and fight for the things that we take for granted. I understand that now that we've done a lot of work in learning our culture, but at the same time, this was something Yolanda and I were talking about. We're not trying to negate the work that they did. We are really just trying to stand on their shoulders and move forward. And
Yes,
I think
ma'am.
that what we do at home is, and my husband's better at it than I am because I really get emotional. But
Oh,
we really do try to be the example that we said that we're going to do. We stick with it. We do what we said we were going to do. If we said we're going to homeschool, then we do the things that we have to do in order to make it work, right? And I think that's what convicted them too, because they can't help but see that our kids are civil people in the Panera Bread. They're not running all over the place, causing havoc. That's part of the homeschool, element in them. They can't help but see that when they are studying, that they're reading all the time, that they've got a
mhm.
book in their hands all the time. I know that that's not just isolated to homeschoolers, but there are things that because we're able to work with them on a daily basis, they are more secure as a child because they have that support there, right? And so you can't unsee that, right? And when they ask us questions, we at first we were like, upset
Yes.
because it's like, why? What did your grandmother do? What did she do? No, you don't, at first we were defensive because we ourselves were insecure. But I think like as we grew and became more secure with our decision, it was less of a challenge for them to question our decision, right? And honestly, like how we got over it is being around our community. I know
Mhm.
this may sound cliche, but I had a community at the beginning. They didn't look like me, but they still were a community that could tell me, my mom did that to me the other day too, and this is what I said. And I could take those words and I could go back home and I could say, mom, every child doesn't read at the same level. Every child
Yes.
doesn't grow at the that I could pull from their strength until I could stand on my own. And that I think that's why it's so important for people to come this weekend because everybody is going through what you just said. We
Yes.
all do. Even now, I go home. I am the co-founder of Black Homeschoolers Birmingham. Okay. And my mama is still asking me, well, when do you test your children? Because she's a 35-year veteran educator.
Oh, wow. Oh, see, you didn't even put that out there. Oh,
Yes.
goodness.
She is a 35-year plus educator, and she wasn't just in the classroom. She was in the superintendent's office, working at the highest level, on the government level, writing grants for the school system. Okay.
Mm,
So she is always asking me questions. Well, when do you test them? And how do you know that what they need? And I'm getting upset because I'm like, I am literally a creator of a community that's helping people with this stuff, and you still don't get it. But I just gently tell her, you know, all the stuff that we've been talking about today, and I think she gets it for a moment. But then we come right back to it. She's got some health issues now, but there's always like this test. Like, are you sure you and we just go through it. Honestly, we just have to go through it, and you have to build yourself up with the community around you in order to get through it. Because if I didn't have anybody, then I wouldn't have made it. And that's where you see a lot of homeschoolers quit because they think, "Hey, I got this. I know what I'm doing." And you do. But if you don't have anybody to tell you like what you're doing, this
yes.
platform is wonderful. If you don't have a podcast like this to actually listen to every day you wake up, then you're going to eventually be worn down,
Yes,
you
yes.
know.
And
And
like
that
you say, you had that balance too, though. Like even
yeah.
though you had you had your family here, you also still had that community that may not
Mhm,
have represented what you wanted to represent at that time, but they still were
mhm.
able to provide you with like, enough tools to keep it pushing.
Yes, yes, and that's how we really get through it. My mother-in-law, she'll break, and it's all in good heart. Like, I really do believe that the baby boomer era, they want the best for us, right?
Yeah.
And they just don't know how to communicate it because it looks different from what they're used to.
Feel a lot, and you said it earlier, like just thinking about, because I know my mom was born in 63, and then you think
Mhm,
about when segregation ended,
mhm.
like she was 2 years in, like they had a different fear than we had at
Yes.
growing up. And so
Mhm.
that fear has carried because that's all they knew. That's what they grew up in. Like the 60s, 70s, 80s. Like it didn't get to, kind of stabilizing out until like the 90s. And then now we're in the 2000s and it's like everything goes.
Yes.
But like, you got to think about all the fear that they grew up with, all the things that they got to see, all the treatment they received. So I
Mhm.
understand because I know education is a big thing with boomers
Yes.
because of what they lack,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So it's like, girl, we fought for y'all to go to these public schools. What?
Exactly. Exactly, and it's like, "Thank you." Like,
Yeah,
"Thank you. Thank you."
yeah,
Because if we didn't have that education, then we wouldn't know what we need more of,
yeah,
right? It's like, "Thank you for teaching me to walk. Now
yeah,
I know I can run." You know? And that's where I'm at. It's like there are so many things that are great about it. And if you find a great teacher, then you are blessed, right? But
mm,
then what if that system does not work for your child? Am I supposed to stay there and watch them suffer?
right.
No, not if I have another option. And I think that's what's so important about the school choice. It's like, I'm not saying I support every element of it, but I'm
Yeah,
saying that if I have a choice to put my child in a space that is going to help them be the best of them, then that's what I want to do. I appreciate the work that you did, but I'm not going to stay there just because it makes you comfortable. That that's not fair to me or anybody that comes after me. What do I do? How do I create a legacy, you
right.
know?
Yeah, it's like you don't want to sit and watch your children light fade. I feel like that's the most like fulfilling thing is to see just how joyful my children are every day.
Yes.
Like they're just so happy. Like
Yes.
all the
Yes.
time. And I'm so grateful for that. I am so, so grateful because I spent so much time in a system where I did not see that joy. I
Right.
didn't see that light. I didn't see that spark. Like, I didn't see that excitement. Granted,
Mhm.
I was in high school my last few years, and them high schoolers, like,
They're a
they over
different
it by
breed.
time. Yeah, they like by the time they get there, they're like, okay, girl, we here. Like, we
Yeah.
here, right?
'Cause
Do
that's
you
how
see
I felt. I was like, "Oh, when does college start?" You know?
Right. But
Yeah.
it's just so important to understand and to stand on your reason why. Like you said at the beginning of like you chose this, you
Yeah.
chose this. And so it was just important to stand on that, like to know,
Yes.
hey, I chose this. Okay.
Right.
So it's gonna be some adversity
Mhm.
that's gonna come my way. Lord forbid it comes from my family, but it
Yes.
may. And you had a whole 35-year educate, like, girl, of course she gonna have something to say.
Yes, and my mother-in-law, same thing on her side, and I think another thing that we have to also think about is in their time, education was a real job for them.
Mhm.
Like, there were limited jobs, what you had an educator or you had, something else, I can't think, but there was, like, 3
Nurse.
different yeah, a
Yeah,
nurse.
nurse, yeah, real basic things. I know,
Yeah,
like the game of life, police,
yeah.
nurse, like,
There we go, there we go. It was the basic civic job,
duties, yeah,
right?
service, yeah.
And it was a privilege for them to make a lifestyle, as a teacher or whatnot, and so, my mom she got a lot of guff for being a public school, teacher, but sending her child to private school.
Mm,
So, I'm like, "So you should get it, right? You should get the fact that yes, you were in the school system, but you saw that your child will be better served in the private school system, and that's a choice you made and you moved on. And so now, I'm taking it to that next level where I
yes.
am doing homeschool and it's not every year. We look at it every year. Is this the best for us? But at least we have a choice, right?
Yes, of course. Yes, and that is so important. I love it. And you spoke on the school choice. I know that's a big thing for a lot of people. Like I heard, I stay out of politics. I tell people all the
Yeah.
time, I'm not there. I'm not there. Okay, guys. And I
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah,
all that are fighting for legislation and everything that they're doing. I
sure,
let them do them, you know.
sure.
But
Yes,
I just want what's best for each child.
right,
Um, Understanding and seeing a system that does not work for each child, I feel like is so hazardous to society in general
right,
for us to
right.
continue to send our children to that system, knowing that they're not going to be produced into their best self. They're not going to grow
Yes,
into their best self. So it's
yes,
just like, I love what's going on. I do.
yeah. And,
I love it.
this was a story, like, whenever I'm talking to a family that I tutor, like, I'm always like, I want the best for your child, right? So if you feel like this is the best, then stick with it, But then I was at the pool the other day, and I was meeting some of the families that my daughter has befriended, and she was explaining to me that her child felt unseen in the current system that she was in, and she was struggling. And I didn't say, "Well, you need to homeschool." What I
Right.
did was listen to her, and I was like, "Well, there's a well, is it a charter school? It's a charter school, Alabama School of Fine Arts, and they
Mm,
have a wonderful school system where they take the child that's really into arts, and they give them certain paths to follow that really brings them out." I'm all about what is gonna help the child because
yes.
it's so sickening when I have a child come to me and they're in 5th grade and they are literally shutting down because they don't get something. And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." Then my homeschool brain comes out and I'm like, "It's okay." You know? You're going to learn it. You're going to understand it. That's what I'm here to help you with. But they are shutting down. I had to call a teacher and I was like, "You do understand that he is only 10 and he does not understand how to communicate with you, that he doesn't understand this, you know? And I think she was like, "Well, he's a troublemaker." And I was like, "No,
Oh man.
he just doesn't understand how to tell you, 'Excuse me, teacher, I'm still confused.' Is there like, let's look at your environment and you know, let's look." And I was scared to say this to her because I don't want to disrespect her work that
Yes.
he does. But I was like, I'm working with him and he shuts down one-on-one. So there has to be something in the environment, whether it's home or whether it's in the classroom or whether it's somewhere else that's causing him to feel like he can't do it. And then you have a full-grown citizen at 40 years old who's still going to do the same thing if we don't figure out how to help them. You know,
Yes. And that's so lovely that you were able to call and advocate for him because that's the thing too. Our kids have to be taught how to advocate for themselves in those
that.
type of environments.
Mhm.
To like you say, he didn't have the words to explain. At 10, it's like, oh, I'm frustrated, or like, I'm upset. Like you go straight to upset or defense mode in general. And
Yeah.
then it's safer to shut down and go into that shell for a lot
Yeah.
of them, especially when you got a class full of peers looking at you asking me this question I don't know the answer to. So I'm shutting down. Like, don't embarrass me in front
Yeah.
of my friends. Like,
Yes, and I think that's why we homeschool as well. It's not to protect our kids from reality, but it's to give them the tools that they need to, like, really navigate in this world. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
40 years old, and I still have to be like, close my eyes, count to 10, and try to reach into somewhere in my life to help me navigate through what life is throwing at me, you
Yes,
know?
ma'am.
So if my husband and I can really just focus on that and help them, that's the biggest thing, and that's what we work towards, whether
Yes.
it's in the community or whether it's personal or whether, that's the goal for us, you know.
Yes. And I love that y'all is so much
Yeah.
we doing this together. This is a family affair, honey. And I love that. I love that y'all are planning in the manner that you are. Love that y'all are communicating in the manner that you are and understanding that this is for the unit. This
Yeah.
isn't just for one. This isn't for me or, how do we
Yeah.
self-care? How do you self-care?
I think for me it's like sitting in the car. That is my everyday. So, we've done our things, we're back home, and I literally say, "Here are the keys." I roll down my windows and I say, "Go." Like,
Mm,
go in the house, and I sit and maybe I have some food that I can enjoy by myself, whatever. Maybe I have me a little piece of water or some gum that nobody's asking for, and I just sit in my car. And at this point, the kids know. They're like, "Okay, mom, that's my everyday self-care." And I can look at my phone in peace. I
yes.
can do what I want, or even if it's work. That's one self-care. The other is I am I figured myself out a little bit better. So I know that I'm the butterfly chaser.
Mm,
If I see something, "Oh, that's fun. Oh, that's fun," and so I have my calendar with me all the time, you
nice.
know? It is my friend, okay? I have my calendar with me and I write down everything that I need to do. I go over it, and I used to hate calendars. I think that was the biggest thing that hurt me in the beginning. I
Mm.
refused to get organized. I refused it because I was like, this is not fun. Everybody else out there, Susie Jane said she just goes with the flow. Why can't I go with the flow?
I want to flow.
I wanna flow, and other people can do that, and
Yeah.
I admire them, but that's not me, and even my son at, like, 6 years old, he's like, "What are we doing today, mother?" And I was like, "I was supposed to go with the flow, this is homeschool, we can do what we wanna do, freedom," you know, and and it's like, "No, no, not for me, not for you." I gotta have that's part of my self-care. Having my calendar with me because it keeps me knowing what's next so that I could trust in that process. I have to trust in something, you know. And let's see, reading the Bible is self-care for me because this is not easy. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be honest with people. Homeschooling is not easy. You are literally taking the school system and you are putting it in your house. No. You know, not their school system, but you are creating a
Yeah,
school
a system for
system
your, yes, you said it.
for
Yes.
your home, and it's it's like all the work that we're used to other people doing, we have to do it, and I mentally get exhausted, you
Yes.
know, because it's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm a mom too." So, when my daughter shuts down during math, because she doesn't like me telling her to do the homework, and I'm mad because I don't want her to be mad at me, you know, but I'm trying to be a really good teacher, you know, that's exhausting.
Yes. No, I'm thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Because it does take a lot. But that's why I asked, I'm trying to incorporate asking about self-care in all my interviews as far
yeah,
as homeschool moms go, because I need parents to understand you need that part. Like
yeah,
the self-care is very, very important. Please,
mhm,
please, please take time and make time to reset, to
yeah,
replenish, to just sit still.
yeah,
Like you
and
said, just sitting in the car.
it's just sit in the car, and I have consulted with introverts. And
Mhm.
I have to tell them, "I know you wanna be at home. I know you wanna be in your space." But honestly, their challenge is going to be to get out
Mm,
and get s that that space where they can relax with other people around, you know? And I feel like my other self-care is to be around the other families because their kids can take my kids. And then I could sit and talk to a mom like you,
yeah.
and we can complain together, and we can rejoice together, and we can be reminded of the good, the bad, and the ugly together, you know? So our park days, like even our dads in our homeschool community at Black Homeschoolers of Birmingham, our dads look forward to park days because
Nice.
our they come and they play football with our boys and girls because my husband has literally said, "I need this.
Yeah.
I need this." And they bring their tennis shoes and they go out and they play with the kids, all the dads, and then they put their dress shoes back on and then they go back to work.
I
And
love
that's part
that.
of our self-care too because I know it's people, I do, but I I need people in my life to help me understand I'm not alone.
So important. So important. I love everything y'all have built,
Come
built.
visit us.
Oh, well, I'm coming to your conference this weekend. I'll be there. Yes.
Tell me she did. Yay! I'm so excited.
Yes, I'm very excited. I adore it. I really do. Y'all are amazing. And I definitely want to find out more about your debate. For my
Yes,
10-year-old girl, because I
yes,
know she had came in one day talking about she wanted to be a lawyer. I said, "Oh, do you?" Yes, I can see that because everything is up for
yes.
negotiation with her. Everything is like, oh, this is not a negotiable thing. Like, oh my gosh, can you just do it? But
Yes,
she's not built that way, and I appreciate her for that. I do.
yes,
So
yes.
let me put her into something that she can actually
Please.
fill that up with, so she could be a
They
little tired when it come to me. Like,
they have so much fun, and what you'll find is and this is just an organic thing that happened, is that they'll figure it out. You know, they'll find a way to communicate with you after going through the debate club because they'll realize I'm not fighting against my mother. I'm really fighting the facts and I want to find the facts so that I can actually present them and we can come to a compromise. And that's something that my kids, they convinced me to touch a snake, girl. We were at a we were at a homeschool program, the science lady, and I'm terrified of snakes. And
Aw,
they use their debate skills,
and
and
got you right over there.
I can show you a picture. They got me touching the snake.
Never would I thought. It's like,
I was like, what is wrong with me?
oh, you have to show the openness. Like, hey, I can't be telling them to try new things and I'm
Yeah,
not trying.
right.
Oh, I
Oh, they
love
got me
it.
good.
Where do we find Neighbor Foundations?
My website is neighborfoundations.com, and all the information is on there. So you can go on there and schedule a consultation so we can talk about your needs. I don't want to just put you anywhere, you know.
Yes.
And then Black Homeschoolers of Birmingham, it's the website, blackhomeschoolersofbirmingham.com.
Nice. And all the links will be available in the description. I
Yeah.
appreciate you so much for taking time with me today, Jennifer, because girl, you got a whole conference in a couple days. So I know you like,
I
okay.
know.
But you,
Yeah.
this has been beautiful. But before I let you go, look, because I've been hawking that time, because baby girl get out of swimming soon. Three things you would like to leave families with who are going into their homeschooling journey. What are three things you would like them to know?
I would like them to know congratulations, because I know it took a lot of thinking and a lot of prayer and a lot of really just looking into it to get here. So congratulations. And then number two, I like to say you can do it. Okay? You can do it. This is something that, whatever you believe, you were led here to do this. So you wouldn't be led here to do it if you didn't already have some tools.
Yes,
So just
ma'am.
find those tools and use them. And then lastly, find your village. Like, honestly, the village, I've talked about it several times on this podcast, but the village is everything.
Yes.
You're not alone. You can do it. Congratulations.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much for that. Yes, yes, yes. Families. Neighbor Foundation, Miss Jennifer is willing to help. She has tutoring services. She has consultation, homeschool consultation. She has a debate team for those little, negotiators that you got at home. Put them in something so they can start negotiating with you. Um, but
Listen,
yes, even though it may amplify it, but either way, like
yeah.
yeah, something to do, but definitely check out your resources. They are all around us. With our lovely internet service now, we are able to connect no matter where we are because my village spans from New York to Florida
Yes,
to
that's
Arizona.
amazing.
Yes, and I appreciate them all. The village is important. Please,
Mhm.
please, please know that it will always take a village. And homeschool your kids.
Yes. Homeschool your kids. I love that. That's amazing. You are so awesome to create this. I'm so
Thank
excited to
you.
see you.
Oh.